mark your calendars, you want to be there, you have questions.
Just dessert option.
Yes. This is our Mary is our head of dessert option. Tell.
Well, we will need 12.
Yeah, let's say 12. Yeah.
Maybe 12 desserts donated. We had decided a few years ago that we're kind of steering away from the grocery store bakeries. But if you know and you want to donate a dessert, please email me or text me, call me, whatever, so I can get you on the list.
Yes, thank you. And these are like fancy, nice desserts from the night. They get the really, that whole dessert table gets really classy. I mean, some of these things go for what, like $4,000. Some of them.
That one was 4,500.
Yeah. So, you know, yeah. So anyway, direct the questions to me. And if you want to be part of the auction team, make sure you shoot me a text so I can make sure that you're on the list. Make sure I have your email address. And we will start having like weekly Zoom, like I don't know if it'll be Wednesday nights, maybe I'm kind of thinking it might be Wednesday nights, maybe just a quick Zoom, like a half an hour Zoom every week so we can stay on task. And then if you, and maybe you don't know what you want to contribute, you're like, I don't really know what I can do because I never done anything like this. There's going to be a place for you and we need you. Even if you can't be on that call every week, we need you. There's got to be something as we get closer, it's going to show up. Set up the basket wrapping party. There's so many things to come. We just take it a chunk at a time. And right now, the priority is number one, let's get these posters out in the community and let's ask because we need to collect donations within like a 6-week window. Right now, we have 6 weeks to collect as many awesome things as we possibly can. So then we can get those things prepared and ready to actually for the show. And then we'll take this one layer at a time. But make sure to text me, auction team. Here's my email address. So I can keep you in the loop and you can be a part and you will find your place and it's going to be an awesome night. And make sure you're planning to be there, all your family. Everybody does need a ticket too. So if you have a loved one in recovery in one of the houses, yes, get their ticket. Every spot needs a seat. Every spot is a cost that Monkey Shoot pays for. So go ahead and plan, get all those seats and get your tickets and that's it. So I will hand it over to Arts.
I was when I was 9 years old, we went out in my parents' boat, my dad's boat. And we were on Lake Washington and it was right around Seafair. So the waters were rough. If you've ever been out there during Seafair, it get a little scary. You know, the big boats, wakes comes over the thing and it was me and my mom and dad, and my dad put the hammer down on the. Oh, by the way, I don't want to forget Andy's song is here. He's running for the council. Just vote for him. I've always been. Don't even argue. You want the streets better. You don't want people camping in the parks and going to the bathroom in the parks. We're gonna vote for Andy. Yeah. Anyways, we're driving in Lake Washington and the hammer's down the boat and I happen to stand up in between the two windows, the window that opens so you go up to the bow. But we hit a big bump and I kind of go flying and I go up and my mother tells my dad, slow down. My dad thinks, so she said, slow down. And that pissed him off. Because it was an assumption that she had made. My father wasn't in control of our safety, and she would have to kind of put it in place and make sure that it's safe. And it really hit my dad. That proceeded to what ended up happening. That was that my parents decided that they would give each other the silent treatment. Okay. This went on for some time in my home. I was a little kid. It was pre-worry. I don't know if you ever remember that, but for me, it was a time before worry. And this was the first time in my life that I can remember worrying showing up. And it was this time where I no longer could be kind of present in the activities in my elementary school. I remember sitting on where all the kids were playing basketball, and I was sitting on the stage thinking about the fact that my parents were gonna get a divorce. So I was this little kid, and now worry is in my mind for the first time, and I'm kind of not finding joy, and I'm lacking presence, and this is big for me, big time. And my parents didn't talk. This went on for 3 months. Now, I came from a strong home. I've never experienced anything like this. This has gone on for 3 months now. I'm 9 years old. One night it was about 2 in the morning, and they do start talking that night. They've been drinking a little bit. They came home from a friend's house, and they decided to start going at each other. And I came out of my bedroom downstairs. They didn't know that I could hear them or whatever, and I punched a wall, punched a hole in the wall. I went upstairs and I said, 9 years old, I've never sworn in front of my parents, but I said, this fucking stops tonight. I said, I need you two to fucking sit down, shut the fuck up, and talk out how it's going. I'm not 9 years old. So you talk it out till it's over. I said, I don't care how long it takes, you're gonna stay, and you're gonna talk until this is over. And they did. And that, that ended that saga of my life. And but anyways, by the way, if you're new, what qualifies me, I guess, I don't know. Maybe you come here and you go, Andy, you distracted me. You're killing me. We got no phones in the group room. Okay, sorry.
I forgot something.
Yeah, we haven't announced.
Just double check your
Yeah.
phones are off and.
We just asked for an hour. One of the things we used to say in this room was we require 2 things to be here, and hopefully you'll require 2 things in your family. And what we require here is we require truth and we require presence. And I hope that maybe that's something that you'll require in your family, and that's what we require in this room for just 1 hour. Just give us some truth and give us some presence. And so we like to have the phones off. Anyways, what qualifies me, I guess, to talk to you tonight is, because of this kind of way I was as a kid, and because of what I went through with drugs, and because of what I went through in my recovery, and what kind of I've learned kind of 2 things, and I've learned how to family. Number 1, I just know how to family, and I don't think people really understand what I mean, but that word, like, do you know, as a family, do you even know how to family? Do you know what that means? And I also know how to relationship. And so, what that means is that we have to first define what a relationship is. And I think well, I'll tell you another story first. I was at my grandma's funeral, and I think at the time I might be 9, I might be 10, I might be 11, it's somewhere around there. And, I really felt that I should, as a good person, that I should be really sad at my grandma's funeral, but I wasn't. I don't know if you've ever experienced this at a funeral. You're not sad, but everybody else is sad. And then you see people kind of mustering up tears, and you see people kind of crying, and you go, man, a good person would really start crying now. And so what I did was, at my grandma's funeral, I started building myself up, and I got a little performance going, and I got some tears going that I was sad for grandma, and I got it going. I got some waterworks going, and I cried for my grandma. Okay, we'll get back to that later. Anyways, so I say that to say, along with family, along with relationship, but I want to also point out that when we were younger, something happened along the way. As we were going and we were younger, what became a priority in our life was, and I think maybe you guys had this experience too, is that somewhere along the line, somebody told us that the priority was to be a good person, not to be an honest person. That at some point we decided that as a family, we would kind of put on a show when we went places, that as we went, we would act and conduct ourselves in a certain way, even if it wasn't true. And that's kind of a divide that happened in most of our lives. I don't remember being a kid and having somebody tell me to be an honest person. I remember they said, keep it to yourself. I remember they say, don't really say anything mean, or don't say anything that that would upset people. And there was a kind of way to conduct myself. And what I gathered as a youngster was that it was way more important to be a good person and to be a good boy than it was to be an honest boy. And I gathered that my throughout my life, and I kind of lived in that kind of discrepancy of, I don't know whether to be a good person or an honest person, and I didn't know about that. So anyways, we'll get back to that. But what I want to first do is I want to define what I think we're doing here. So if you've come to Battlefield and you've got here, and yes, drugs might have been why you got here, or maybe behavior might be why you got here, or maybe not getting along as a family, maybe why you got here, and eating disorder is why you got here, or self-harm is why you got here, or just a lot of different reasons people come here. One of the things that we're doing now, though, is we're saying, let's just identify that maybe that wasn't just the sole problem, that maybe that was an indicator that there's a problem in your family, and maybe it's like now it's time to cut loose, and now it's time to really to see that there was a problem and that we need to heal from that problem. And for our premise, what we're doing is we're teaching people how to relationship. We're teaching people how to family. And so that's the work that is going on here. And so first thing we need to do is you need to understand what a relationship is. You see, for a long time, I didn't know what a relationship was. I thought maybe it was you, or I thought maybe it was me, but I didn't understand that a relationship means to be in relation. And what a relationship is not the cup that I'm holding here, and it's not me. It's the relationship between, it's the space between. So what a relationship is, and I've never been taught that when I was a youngster, but the relationship is it's the space between. It's me and you. It's not me and it's not you, but it's the space between us. And what I learned is in order to family, what we have to do as a family, we have to keep that space between us clean. We have to keep it complete. And if we let that stuff build up in the space, we begin to harbor resentments. We begin to have trouble as a family, which was going on when I was a kid, you see? And so you gotta, what we begin to do with people here is we begin to say, listen, and by the way, when you're in a relation with someone, when you're in a relation, I want you to know that I'm not in a relationship with my wife. That's not just it. I'm in a relationship with my wife, her insecurities, and her thoughts. There's 6 of us here. There really is. There's 6 of us. You see, so I need to know when I'm relating with my wife, if I'm relating to her insecurities, if I'm hearing her thoughts, or if I'm talking to my wife. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know the difference. You see, but there's 6 of us here. So she's in relation with my insecurities. I'm in a relationship with her insecurities. And what we have is we have families come to us that really, really, in almost a cruel way, have gotten used to hitting each other's insecurities, and then have gotten used to blaming each other for the emotional effect that happens after that. And so what we're doing in this kind of now I also need to tell you that most of you have never been committed in your life. Now, that's a harsh statement, but you've never been committed to anything, and I'll prove it. You see, what we do when we commit to a relationship is we commit to the space between. You see, the commitment is to say that I am committed to clearing this space between us. I'm committed to keeping it complete. And in order to do so, in order for me to be committed, what I have to do is when there is something there, I have to speak to you about what's there. You know what most people do that say they're committed in a relationship? Something's in the space and they complain to somebody else. They talk about what's in the space with the person they're relating to, but they don't talk about it with that person that they're in the relationship with. They go about it by talking to everyone else. You see? So what I will tell you why I know that you've never been committed is because complaint negates commitment. You see? When I complain about the person I'm in a relationship with, I'm negating the commitment that I made. And what I'm really saying is, I can't stand the heat of this person. I can't stand being in the relationship. And if I go over here and I tell you, what I'm saying to you is, if this relationship fails, it's not my fault. I really want you to know that this person behaves in a way that's really difficult. And because they behave in this difficult manner, I'm going to complain to you and let you know that it's not me. That it's not me that's causing this, that it's them. And you need to know that when this ends, so if I complain about my wife, what I'm saying is I'm not committed to my wife. If I go and I complain to Nemo and we have a conversation about all my wife's problems and how she behaves, what I'm really saying is, if we get a divorce, Nemo, just know I didn't do it. She did it, you see. So we need to understand that, maybe if there any relationship that you've been in, whether that's with a job, whether that's with a person, whether that's a marriage, whether that's a kid, a daughter, a son, a father, any relationship that you've been in that you don't complain about. And if you can find one, that's the one that you've actually committed to. Any relationship. Now, if there is, and this is to say that you cannot, what am I committing to? When I commit to the space, I'm also committing to this growth. I'm committing to the work. And by committing to the work, I have to see who I'm in a relationship with, and I have to be there with that. And I don't get to dump it off. I don't get to take my pain from this relationship and go vent to you about it. I have to use that pain that I have right here to get that growth. And I need to stay right here. See, the work of relationshiping is this, I had to learn how to dance. I've had to learn this dance of being in relationships with people. And, this commitment is not committing to the easy parts of people. You see, our commitment is not, when we say we're committed, you're not committing to what's easy. What you're committing to do is to commit to the difficulty. See, I enjoy the difficulty. I enjoy right now being in relationships, ones that hit my insecurities, ones that cause me to be with my thoughts and my insecurities, one that caused me to actually learn how to, what emotional regulation means? You see, we're learning emotional regulation, but you won't learn it if you're not committed, because what you'll do is it won't go your way and you won't be with your emotions because you'll go talk to someone else. So when you find yourself getting on the phone, venting about your mother, when you find yourself getting on the phone, venting about your kid, when you find yourself having a glass of wine, talking about your husband, what you're doing is you're making it so you can't grow. You're actually putting yourself in a position to deny growth. So getting to the place where you're ready to commit and ready to be there in the fire and ready to be with your own emotions. And emotional regulation means to be with. That's what it means. It means to be with. It means I can be with my anger. I can be with my frustration. I can be in here with it. I can handle this. And so this is this thing that showed up in our life, and it's to say that we don't know how to relationship good and we don't know how to connect anymore. And now all this bad behavior is showing up and I have to help this person, but I don't know how to connect with them, and I don't know how to heal, and I don't know how to put it back together, and I don't even really know how to talk because I piss off everyone, and we're always pissed off, and we're always venting to somebody, and we're always complaining about each other. Yeah, that's because no one's committed yet. So what we're asking first is we're saying, hey, ladies, are you ready to commit? And by commit means I'm going to eliminate complaint. And by eliminate complaint, I eliminate my righteousness. And by eliminating my righteousness, I eliminate my pressure valve. And by eliminating my pressure valve, I have to be with these emotions, and I have to stare forward at the fire of you. And I have to be with the fire of you. And I don't get to turn my head. You see, complaining looks like this. When I'm with a difficult person and I want to turn my head and I want to go, it's them. It's them, it's not me. Their behavior, you should see how they behave. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. And that's what the righteousness and the complaining is. And it's so hard not to. And I'm not saying you're not going to need to vent from time to time. I'm not saying you're not going to need to vent out some of this pain, but it can't be all the time. You see? So I have to learn now to relationship, and I have to learn what to family means to relationship, and what family means is like several relationships being completed and required to be completed at all the same time. No one in my family lets two people not talk. No one in my family says when we family, what we say is, wait, two people aren't complete. We must require a completion here. We must get together, and these two people must commit to the space between, and they must stay. And it's like, just lock the door. Lock the door and stay until it's done. Democrats and Republicans, they're in a relationship. You see? But the goal of the relationship is now there's a difference between somebody being wrong. People can be wrong. But if they're understood, it makes a difference. But see, there's a difference between being wrong and having somebody making you wrong. You see? There's a difference between somebody being wrong and you making them wrong. I want you to note that the Democrats and Republicans, they make each other wrong. They are happy when the other person is wrong. They want the other person to be wrong. They will not try to understand the other person. Now that could be happening in our families. That could be happening where we're not just at a point where someone's doing something wrong. You see, because when we don't make somebody wrong, what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand their wrongness and make them right. We're trying to be with them long enough that we can see why their motivation was good. We're trying to hear that. We're trying to get to a place where we go, I get why you did that now. I understand. So making somebody wrong is saying, no, listen, they're wrong, I'm right, and it's always going to be that way, and I'm looking for how they're wrong the next time. So this idea of what we're doing here, you're taking your family and you're making it whole, and you're saying, listen, one, on an individual level, we've got to learn how to relationship. First, we got to start with what it is. And then secondly, once we understand what the relationship is, that it's this space and things show up in the space. And when they show up in the space, they're in my head and I think about what's in that space. And a lot of times I haven't really been able lately to approach that space. And instead of approaching that space, I kind of get scared and I walk on eggshells and we no longer know how to dance with each other. And what ends up happening is we always end up in the same circular kind of conversation and we end up right back where we started. And that's because no one's taken responsibility for that. You see, to take responsibility for the relationship means to take responsibility for that space. To say, I'm here to clear it up. I'm here to understand. I'm here to make you right. I want to figure this out. And so one of the things that we have to do is like this verbal surgery, And verbal surgery means I understand, how come we can't understand that each other has insecurities and try not to hit them? Try to like surgically get in there and understand a person without pissing them off. Try to like have a nice conversation and go, I want to approach this subject with you. I know it's sensitive. Do you see, my dad's insecurities were hit. My mother hit my father's insecurities. And rather than those two grown-ups try to figure out why dad got upset and why mom got upset, why didn't they try to nurture? My mom and dad said they love each other. They really did. But I wonder why they didn't try to nurture each other's insecurities. I wonder why they didn't approach it and go, what made you insecure? And what made you insecure? I wonder why they didn't do that for each other. You see? Because if they just did that, then it would have been over. They just said, I care about your insecurities and I care about your thoughts and I want to understand you. But rather, they went back to their own corner and they made each other wrong. And they did it for months and months and months. And that's what we do. And so getting to this place where we understand, number one, guess what? Every time you've made a relationship better in your life, it was like a verbal cliff jump. You went into a conversation not knowing where you were going to land, and you jumped off and you just said it. You ever verbally cliff jump? You ever just say something and have it pop out of your mouth and you go, fucking said it now. Now it's time to roll, right? That's it. You don't know where you land, but normally if you just stay, it gets better. And so for me, this has been this practice and what it leads to. I'm telling you where we're going here is that what ends up happening when you commit to the space, when you deal with somebody's and understand that if somebody has thoughts and insecurities that you need to actually make right and understand why they get upset, not blame them for getting upset, but actually, and then learning to be with your emotions so that you can stay next to the fire and you don't have to quit and you can regulate yourself and be in here and stay calm. And when this whole package starts getting together, what you start realizing is, where else would growth come from? I love when people say they've grown. It's always a Facebook post. Oh, my personal growth lately has been so, and it always means they read some dumbass book or they went to a conference or some shit. It's like, have somebody else tell people you've grown.
Yeah.
The measure of our growth is the relationships improving. That's it. You can't grow on a desert island by yourself. You need a mirror. You need to say that used to upset me, but I've dealt with my insecurities and that no longer upsets me. And now I'm able to stay closer to that fire and I keep getting close to that fire and I get less upset and I get less upset and there's growth. And to be more honest, what we're saying is you've been a good person.
You know, you've been a good person. With each other, you've been good people, except when you're bad people. Right? You've been a good person trying to hide the bad person. Oh, what happened? And everyone comes here as the good person. Nobody ever comes here and goes, I want to explain what I did last night. The bad person came out. You know, we got in a fight last night and the bad person was out. Well, what'd you do? Oh, no, they did this and they did that. And what'd you do? I didn't do anything. What do you mean? Art? I didn't do anything. They did this and they did that. It's always the innocent bystanders that come here. You see? So where this starts is that I'm going to have to get truthful with you, and I'm going to have to prioritize truth. And what I'm looking to cultivate through this is an honest, good person. I'm looking to get to both now. I'm looking to switch my priorities from walking on eggshells and trying to be kind. You know, this whole bad behavior thing and this whole thing doesn't get fixed with good people. That's why we have a problem in Washington State, by the way. Bunch of good people that think they care about drug addicts. That's why they're all over everywhere.
Yeah.
Because they won't bring them into their house or anything like that. They won't actually help them, but they'll say that they really care, you know? And that's why we have this problem, because good people, you all know, can't solve this. This has to get down in the mud. This is solved by violence. This is solved not by violence, but going through violent periods. This is solved by the worst of us coming out and getting shown. This is solved by us actually showing ourselves and not wanting to. And going, yeah, you hit my insecurities so deeply that I ended up behaving like this. And that's what it was, that you scared me so bad that my first day with Angie, her first day working for Battlefield, you know what she did? It was her first day, and there was a kid and he didn't want to go to treatment in California, and we were trying to get him on a plane. And the kid made some demands. He said, I'll get on the plane in 1 hour. And we had to get him to the airport. He said, I'll get on the plane in 1 hour as long as I have some heroin. So there me and Angie go. Her first day, she goes, where are we going? I go, we're going to get him some heroin. She goes, what? Yeah, this is solved by, yeah, we took her Lexus. Yeah, so we're sitting outside of a trap house waiting for the kid to go in and get his heroin. I'm sitting with Narcan, letting him shoot up and dropping him off at the airport. Yeah, so good people don't solve this shit. Honest people do. A good person would have not done that and not got him on the plane. You know, really. This is down in the mud. You want to get your family, you ain't good people. We ain't good people. We got problems. Stop trying to act like you are. No one wants to talk about it. Oh, we got addiction in our family. You know how random it is that someone becomes an addict? It's truly. Everyone thinks it's this deep-rooted shit that's from trauma and all this bullshit. Knock it off. Dude, it's as simple as this. I'm having a beer at my friend's house and a couple people bust out a couple perk 30s and put them on a piece of foil. And they go, do you want to try it, Art? And I go, no. And then the next night I come back and they're doing it again. Want to try it, Art? Yeah, let me try it. Boom. There it is. Now, was that from trauma or a disease or a disorder, or was that because there was drugs there? You see? I mean, it could be as simple as that. Drug addiction could be as simple as it's caused by drugs. That could be the actual cause. 100% of drug addicts I know do drugs. I've never met one drug addict that didn't do drugs. Never. So what causes it? But I've met drug addicts from great families, rich families, poor families, traumatized families, great families, 6 perfect kids all graduated from college with one person that didn't. I came from a family that I consider great. 2 older sisters, paid off houses, graduated college. Then there was me. And I wasn't traumatized. I was entitled. I was given everything. They weren't. What are you talking about? You see? So it's as random as that. And then this bad behavior happens, and here we are, and we're in this new world. And all of you got to see the worst parts of yourself come out. And you had to admit, yeah, I'm that person. And then people say, I don't want to talk about it. Why don't you want to talk about it? Who are you? You're the person that it doesn't happen to? You're Mr. Perfection? Our family's so good behind closed doors that we can't admit that there's an addict here? Stop. And then everybody's, get rid of the stigma. Shut up. No one cares. Okay, your daughter's going through that. Your kid's going through that. Let's roll. This takes honesty. This takes admitted. I used to require everyone that came in here. My kid's a drug addict. Put it on a sign. Put it out there loud. You're not going to solve it until you get down with the truth. You're not going to solve it until you commit to the difficulties. And you can't commit to the difficulties if you're not willing to admit that it's even happening. You got to get down with this shit. And then you got to go, wait, it's going to take me being an honest person first and putting good person on the back burner. And then I'm going to have to learn to cultivate both. Because I see when I'm just honest, I'm brutal and sometimes I'm an asshole and I hurt people. And now I'm going to have to learn to actually come from a different place. And so what this eventually does is it re-engineers us. It's saying we're learning how to relationship, we're learning to family, and now we're prioritizing, yes, being honest with each other, but doing it kindly. And actually surgically going in there and saying things and understanding each other's insecurities. Do you know, just so we know, everyone's clear, when a human being gets upset, the reason is 100% of the time that they're insecure. I don't know if we've been taught that, but it's true. You cannot get upset without being insecure. So that's just what happens. You have a feeling of unsafeness, your heart rate increases, you feel unsafe and insecure, and you get upset. And that's what happens, and that's the truth. So I'm not upset because you did that or did that. I'm upset because I'm insecure. And when we start taking responsibility that why we get upset is that we're insecure, we start dealing with our insecurities rather than trying to control everyone's behavior. We start trying to not try to neutralize everyone anymore. And we can actually say it, just like I told you the other day, Stephanie mentioned it upset. I said, you people can't upset me. Because I've been through it all. I've tried to, and I've worked with every insecurity that people have said about me, and I've worked with it all. And it no longer upsets me because I've been here with it. And those aren't insecurities anymore.
Yeah, verified imagine.
Yeah.
Remember I asked you,
So-
I said, are you serious?
But that doesn't mean that I don't still have insecurities. That doesn't mean that I can't get upset. But if I do get upset, that is because I'm insecure. You'll find me in a poker game upset. Because I might feel scared and insecure, and I might not feel good enough about myself. It just won't be in this forum. So we have to go find more difficulty to get upset about to find our insecurities. So now we have to get in different relationships to keep growing. But there it is. There it is. I put my arms like this and I put my head forward and I commit to the relationship and I don't turn and point and blame. I don't turn and say this fire is too hot. I stay right here with the fire and I feel the pain. And that pain is this emotional stuff that's going on inside me and my insecurities. And when we discuss with each other what is actually happening, if me and my wife aren't getting along, what we need to discuss is not each other's behavior, but rather why we're insecure about it. You know, it sounds a lot better if you say, hey, you know, I'm just really insecure about that. You know how crazy it is? Like, you kids here, they go, my mom's just always worried about me. It's like,
Oh, darn.
so you're mad because someone's worried about you? Fuck off. Really? I don't want people to worry about me. No, you're insecure because you're worrying about yourself. And it's an insecurity of yours, and you're not secure about your own safety, and they should be insecure because you're not even secure. And if you're emotionally fragile enough to have somebody worrying about you flip you out, then you're insecure and you need to work on that. And actually getting mad that somebody, if my wife tells me that she's worried about me and I go, oh my God, you can't be worried about, I mean, that's nuts. You see? But my mom was worried about my dad, and my dad was worried about the safety, and then his insecure because as a man, he didn't want to be known as someone who was putting his family in danger. And so he neutralized my mother and he just told her to be quiet. And he didn't deal with his own insecurities. He didn't grow in that instance. He didn't have a chance because he blamed her. And rather than just going, hey, honey, you know, it made me feel really insecure because you questioned my providership as a man and my safety for my family, and it got me upset. And rather than have that discussion with each other, we're willing to scratch each other's eyes out. You know, we're really like in this game of complain and blame with each other. And I do it just so you know, guys, I'm not really a family coach all the time. I'm more of a people don't want a family coach. They want a family judge. They want to come and they want to be deemed the right one. And Art, did you hear the whole thing? You know, I'm right, right? I had a ex-girlfriend like that. She brought me to couples counseling. It was one of the most awesome days of my life. She's just picking on me and nagging at me and nagging at me. And she goes, "We're going to couples counseling." And the guy's on like TED Talks. And he was like, back then, it was like 10 years ago. And he was like $700 for an hour. And I'm like, whatever, I'll go. And I go and he's got his books laid out and stuff. And, you know, and then there's another book over here. And we get to the couples counseling and he goes, "Well, you really need to read that book." And I go, "Oh, I've read that one." He looks at me and I go, and then he goes, and this one you really got to read. I go, "Read that one too." And me and the dude just start vibing, you know. And at the end of the day, he pretty much deemed her the problem, you know. And so it was one session, and she gets in the car, she's like, "Fuck that guy." And I was like, you know, yeah, it's like I loved it, you know. I'm like, you should read. But it's real serious, you know, this real thing. Like, okay, man, wow, I want to connect with someone, but I'm ignoring the fact that they have insecurities. I'm ignoring the fact, and you know, thoughts, people argue with me about this all the time. They say, "Art, you can't share all your thoughts." And I go, "Yes, I can. In fact, I'll share all of them. It doesn't mean that they're true just because I share them. It means that I don't want to be in here. You know, if me and my wife share 80% of our thoughts and keep 20 for ourselves, do you know that the next 20% lack of connection? It's like a dark place in me that she doesn't know about. And it's much easier just to say, "Honey, I have these thoughts. They might not be true. That girl has a nice butt," you know, whatever it is. But it's a lot better than me going, "I wasn't looking." You know, I only look at you. You know, it's like really sharing 100% of our thoughts gives us 100% connection on the internet. You know, and talking about our insecurities rather than talking about blaming each other for hitting them and saying, "Listen, I want you to know." And it's a much easier conversation on somebody's ears to say, "I want you to know I'm just really insecure about that. I want you to know I can feel my unsafeness when you mention that. I want you to know that I care about you. And when you say you're going to go do that behavior, I get really scared and insecure that you're going to leave me and I'm not going to see you again." Things like that. And it's really an understanding of, number one, commitment. And saying when I'm in a relationship with you, what I do, Steffi, or what I'm going to do, Eric, is I'm going to commit to you. And that means that every time that I'm upset with you, I'm going to talk to you. And I will never speak to another person about that because that breaks my integrity and my power with you. And so I'm going to actually speak and I'm going to clear the space of everyone. And this relationshiping takes a lot of work. And I want you to kind of look over the landscape of your life in your relationships right now. Kind of think of the ones that are incomplete and think of the ones that you're leaving out there. And wherever you find an incomplete, you'll also probably find a complaint, and you're probably also being right and making them wrong. And you kind of built up this story that you're the right one and they're the wrong one, you know, and then you've maybe even conned yourself that boundaries was a good idea because boundaries seem to mean growth for people. But that would be insane that putting up a fence means you're growing. "Oh, I got boundaries now." "Oh, so you're getting smaller." "No, I'm growing." "No, you're getting smaller. You got a fence around you. You've trapped yourself in. You're getting smaller. Because that person hits your insecurities and you don't like that. And you don't want to bother with that because it's difficult. You see? So we find these things to commit to if we'd like to grow. And this is a great opportunity to commit to our loved ones and say, "I'd like to grow." And the way I'm going to grow is I'm going to first commit to the fire of them. And then I'm going to acknowledge that my insecurities get hit and it's difficult to be in here with my thought with this person, not because of them, but rather they put me in my thoughts and insecurities. And sometimes it leads to sleepless nights. And I actually sometimes toss and turn and think about what I should have said and how I didn't say that and how wrong they are. And what I should be doing is actually getting myself calmed down so that I can figure out and find them. You know, a person might be acting wrong, but they might be right, but they might not even know why they're right. It might like take you talking to them long enough until you locate them to figure out why they're right. And it might be a lot of hard work. And so, you know, this work of that will lead to me. And now I have to be surgically honest and I have to like put things forward, but I also don't want to upset people. And I kind of want to be kind and gentle in the way I do it. And I want to move forward very consistently in this relationship. And I want to connect. And so we're going to work on it. And what we're going to do with each other as a family is we're going to not be right. And we're going to stay until we figure out why the other one's right. We're going to stay until we can find a ground to stand on. And this is like hopefully what the idea of Battlefield is. Hopefully it's what you're here for. You know, getting people off drugs is not what we do. It's just a given. It's the prerequisite to what we do. And once they're off the drugs, there's more work to be done. And this is why anyone can come here. And it's not about getting off drugs. It's about this relationshiping and learning what we do, you know, learning what it feels like to be in a family and have everyone in a household and to have two people in that house not be getting along. Everyone knows what that feels like. It's brutal. And to have the Thanksgivings and to have the Christmases and go year after year after year and people not getting along. And then it becomes a requirement. Somebody in the family requires the discussion if the people won't. It says, hey, you're not leaving. Just like I did when I was 9. You're not leaving. We're gonna put you two in this room, and you're not gonna make your family wrong. You're not gonna keep making them wrong. You're gonna actually get in here and talk until it's over. So jump off a cliff, put on the boxing gloves, say whatever you need to say, beat each other up, but come out friends, please. You see? And that's it. Oh, to me, this is the skill that this was all about for me. For me, helping people meant to learn how to relationship with them. And it meant to learn to understand them. And I used to think that helping people meant to tell them how they're wrong. And I thought that for a while, and it was kind of fun for a while, but it didn't work. And to actually help people means to understand them and then be there, you know, with their insecurities and help them eliminate them and help them be safe. And the safer people are, in my opinion, and the more they feel that way, the more they change on their own. I've never really had to tell anyone how to change. They've all figured it out on their own, you know. But I have had to talk to really difficult people and then try to, and they didn't make me feel safe, but you try to be with those emotions so that you can get closer to the fire, just like a dog that's really in the corner shivering. And you know, shivering dogs, some scared dogs are shivering, but some scared dogs are saying F you and barking at you. But don't get it twisted, they're all scared dogs. Anyone upset is a scared dog. Some might be shivering in the corner and some might be saying F you, but just because, you know, but both should be treated like a scared dog. Both should just be approached with kindness and not yelled back at and not neutralized. It doesn't do any good, you know. Oh, so I hope that gets you involved. You know, for me, that's the work is I commit to a human. And once I commit to a human or a thing, I commit to the difficulty of the thing. And the difficulty causes my insecurities to be hit. And those cause emotions. And when my emotions are hit, I get to learn to regulate new ones. And I get to be in there with it. And that causes growth because I get to be in here with stronger and stronger emotions. And so I need more and more difficulty to learn to grow. And difficult people cause that. And so you got to get around them. And the more you begin to do that, the more you get to empty yourself of these insecurities. And then the more you get to live in peace, and it's not frustrating, and it's not venting, and it's not any of those things anymore. And then you get to learn to be with a certain kind of calmness. And that's what this thing has granted us. I always like this thing it's like the before drug addiction or before bad behavior, it's like the wedding reception before the booze. You know, no fun. Everybody's putting on the front. Everyone's great. How are you? 3 drinks in, the bad dancers get out on the floor. People start, showing themselves. That's what this does. Listen, big surprise. You're a human and you get so angry you punch something. Big shock. That's what humans do. But we feel bad about it. No, you're not good. We're just human. We're not good compared to other humans. So we punch and we yell, and we say mean shit to each other, and we get scared. Okay. So now what? But the reality is we die for each other. 1 minute you're yelling at your kids, and the next minute someone could say, you got to give up your life right now. And you'd say, done. So what does that mean? So we learned a family. And by family, we keep our family relationships complete, and we require it of each other. And if a 9-year-old can do it, you could do it. I've been doing it ever since. Except when I was high all the time. They didn't listen. When you're on crack, they don't care what you have to say. Guys, gotta quit fighting up there. Get some more money. By the way, I've already sold Dad's saw. Go get him a new one. John, you ever steal your dad's saw? No? This was my dad's shop. It was a plethora of good stuff to take to the pawn shop. So I'd sneak out here and I'd uncover one of his saws that no way this guy's gonna use. It's way up in the corner, it's buried in shit. I'd take that thing, sneak it out, take it to the pawn shop. God damn, if it wasn't 2 days later, he's like, hey, let's go out to the shop and get that saw out. I'll tell you how bad I was. You ever see those United States maps?
Yeah.
You ever see those United States maps with the quarters in them? Yeah, I emptied one of those. By the way, that's $13.50 if you're counting. Yeah. Emptied the United States quarter map, took each quarter out of the country, out of the state. Got $13.50 in quarters, bought a big crack piece. Little crack piece. Okay, questions, comments? Might be new, you might want to introduce yourself real quick, whatever. Yeah.
Don took my gas can, 5-gallon can.
Yeah.
Then he figured out it was diesel after he poured it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, poor car.
Yeah, Ford car.
Jeez, John.
Sucking out the gas or the diesel out of his car.
Jeez. Yeah.
Did you get in trouble for cutting it?
No, they were in trouble that night. They'd been drinking. Spot number one. They're way out of line. Yeah, I know. But it's for me, it's that living in a family and having disruptions and having those incompletes and that feeling that it is in the house. And for me, it was a real feeling of unsafeness. And my mind would go to my parents are going to get divorced. I would even fantasize about That's how far I would take it. Okay, my parents are gonna get divorced. My mom's gonna have a new husband. I'm gonna tell that guy he's never gonna be my dad. I hope she doesn't even try to bring him home. That I remember those kind of, that line logic.
Just so you know.
What do you think, Erica? You were kind of sad?
Yes, because. I'm just trying to figure it out. I don't argue with them anymore, but. I don't like this word boundary, but. I can't continue to allow Trayvon to be disrespectful to me. It's just not okay. And then you can just come back and act like it's not supposed to happen. And then I'm just supposed to be this mom all over it, which all I've been is the mom. And I'm just, all you do is hurt me.
Mhm.
And I don't cuss them out or yell at them like I used to. I've learned to just sit back. And I know you said there's two sides, right? I'm muted, right? But I don't know how to, like when you said maybe I should say, you know what, that's the insecure person in you talking like that. Like, I'm worried about this person you're becoming right now and you're talking to me like that. But in that moment, I wasn't thinking about it. I just shut down and said, I'm gonna get off this phone, Trayvon, because I'm not gonna accept you talking to me like that.
Okay, so let's do a little coaching real quick. Why? What will be the purpose of recommitting to the relationship with Trayvon?
Just because I'm a mom, I don't want to not have a relationship with any of my kids.
No, that's not commitment. What after tonight? What would be the purpose of committing to the relationship?
Nothing at this point.
Okay, no, there is. See, that's the whole point. The point is what you're committing to in a relationship with Trayvon, and you're committing to your growth. When it starts with the idea that you're going to commit to your growth and that what's in the space between you is a talking point with him. So now you're going to go in a conversation, you're going to talk to Trayvon. What's going to happen to you when you talk to your son? You're going to get upset. Okay? Right?
Mhm.
Okay. And you're going to get upset and you're going to try to tell him how to behave. And you're going to say, don't do this to me. And you're going to try to create a boundary and you're going to do all that. Well, what if the point is to hit your insecurities, not to not hit your insecurities? So what people need to understand is I've been here with this. What I'm talking about is you're sitting by that fire, not to put the fire out. See, you want to just go put the fire out so it don't hit your insecurities anymore. The reason that you're having a relationship with Trayvon is your growth. Now, your growth only comes from feeling when your insecurities are hit. And when your insecurities are hit, you're going to learn to emotionally regulate. And you can only learn to emotionally regulate when your insecurities are hit and you're ready to be with those. So what does it look like to be in a conversation with Trayvon, but not to be in a conversation with him, but rather to be in a conversation with your insecurities and your pain and your emotions? See, what it looks like is this. There it is. There's an elevated heart rate. There's my muscles tightening. I'm feeling unsafe. I'm feeling unsafe. Now, you don't say that.
Mhm.
But see, the reason you get upset is because you felt unsafe in your body and you didn't notice it. And you're blaming him for you feeling unsafe. So now what you're trying to do is you're trying to stop him from saying that, doing that, behaving that way. And you're doing it very emphatically, probably. And you're calling it disrespect, but it might not be. You're just calling it that. And so what you're going to do right now, and this is the lesson that I'm trying to get across, when I commit to a relationship with something, that could be the game of poker. That could be a job. That could be a boss. When I commit to that relationship, I'm not committing to the relationship to fix the person. In fact, I don't care whatsoever if they change. I'm committing to the relationship so that I get difficulty to feel my insecurities getting hit. So when I feel it, there's a chance to emotionally regulate. And I can't ever help another person when I'm dysregulated. And so don't even so I thought when I went to help people that it was very simple. I would just get in a relationship with them and tell them why they're wrong and that they would listen. And it would all be good. As if that's the problem. And then they're going to wise up and go, Art said I'm wrong and I should behave differently.
Max,
Hold on.
but
So let me finish. So it was only when I decided that this wasn't for people, but it was for me, that everything shifted. And that's exactly why I'm having this talk tonight. Because I'm saying I commit to helping people, not because it helps them. I commit to helping people because it helps me grow. Somehow, in the long run, that growth allows me to be with people that are on fire. And by being with people that are fiery and on fire, very difficult, and by being with them not dysregulated, but rather emotionally stable, because I've done this practice over and over and over of sitting by hot fires, I can now sit with somebody that would really piss you off, but doesn't piss me off, and would really scare you, but doesn't scare me. You ever sat in front of a human being that wants to cut themselves? You see? You ever watch someone take a knife and a razor and just cut their leg like that? That's scary. But it don't help by getting all scared. You see? It helps by learning all this, the difficulties of it, and by being with them. And it helps that person for you to put your arms around them when they're doing that, not to tell them how fucked up they are. So that's a long way to go, and that's an extreme example. But listen, the reason that you're not having success is that because you're trying to change him, not you. You don't want to grow, you want him to. That's the whole point of this whole thing. Is your growth, it starts with your growth. And until you're committing to the difficulty for your growth, not so that you can get over the difficulty and change them, but actually so you can feel this pressurized unsafeness that you feel when you're around the person. And that they feel you feel when they're around you. And that's why their insecurities are hit, and that's why you're having so much trouble. Because they don't feel loved and safe, they feel wrong. You see? So now, the commitment says, I'm committing to what's in the space like I'm committing to a hot fire. And that heat will come inside of me, and I won't blame them. I'll be there with the heat. And as I do that, I become more calm around them, just like that scared dog that I'm now able to approach that's no longer barking at me or shivering, but rather feels safe around me. And so the reason that you recommit to the relationship and forget your boundaries and all that nonsense is because people put up boundaries because they don't want to grow, because they don't want that person to hit their insecurities enough and they're tired of it.
I am tired.
Yeah. But see, what you're really tired of is your image. You're tired of your image. You see, when people's insecurities are hit, most of all, it's about their image. So really what you're insecure is like, does this look good taking this disrespect from my kid to other people? Now, I don't need you to argue. That's why. But but you'll see it. See, in your head, it's about what does this look like as a mother? It's not about what's actually happening. It's about what does this make me look like if I take it? It's not about whether you can take it or not, about what it looks like if you continue to take it. Does it make you look like a sucker? Does it make you look like a chump? And then we get righteous and say, I'm no sucker and I'm no chump, you see? But the reality is, you're not there for that. You see, I'm not there for that. I'm there to take it. You give it, I'll take it. And I'm going to see how much I can take. And what I've learned is that the more I can take, the more I can help people that are in pain because they put it on me. And it's okay. You can put all you want on me. I'll take it like a factor. You know, what I'll do is I'll turn that pain into emotional regulation. And I'll be in here with it. And if I can be in here with it long enough, I can help. I can actually be in a place that's, you know, I don't like the word safe place. I hate it, but that's the truth. You become a safe place. Safe that they can act out and they can act however they want and you'll still accept them, you know? So that's the whole point of tonight is that what we are committing to is not fixing them, is not anything, but we're committing to the difficulty of it. And by committing to the difficulty of it, we're saying, I'm big and I can take it. And I'm going to let this person hit my insecurities and I'm going to feel it right there on the spot. Now, I'm telling you, it's a fleeting glimpse. I'm telling you, your body reacts and then your mind reacts after. But if you don't catch it in the body, the mind will take over. And once the mind takes over, it's there to take over to protect your body. So when we feel unsafe in the body, our mind takes over to neutralize the threat. But if you actually be with that unsafeness in your body, if you actually feel it, your mind doesn't need to be involved. So when I'm being attacked and I'm being gaslit, there it is. There's my muscles tightening. There's my heart rate. And I'm looking right at the person, but I'm in here with it. You see, that's the practice of being with difficulty. Now, you can't grow without difficult people, and you can't practice without it either. So you need Trayvon. See, everyone else just does what you say. Well, that ain't going to hit your insecurities. It's like me now. I can come over here to the Ken house, and everyone just does what I say. You know, I got to go to play, I got to go hang out with Democrats. You know what I mean? I got to go hang out with liberals, and then I'll get all upset and insecure. What, we got a bunch of liberals? Oh, man. I could do it the other way. I got to go hang out with Trump lovers. They're all nuts. Both sides are nuts. I don't think they're all nuts. So
If I can,
it's that commitment to the pressure that he has on you is what you're committing to. Seven, what were you gonna?
I just disagree with you.
All right, let's hear it.
So there's a point where there's a line. I agree with you with sitting in it and whatnot, but I think that there's a place where it's not okay to sit with abuse.
Mhm.
I think that when you have a child that you have born, raised, and this is not about, for me, it's not about image or any of those things. I can honestly look at that where it's Nehemiah and I have a very different relationship. If he ever spoke to me in that tone, Nehemiah knows I would punch him in his throat. I would punch him in his mouth. Now I'm not saying that's the right response. That's just how I wrote. And that probably is a response, but that I would need the type of advice that you're giving to learn how to sit with that. Cause that's not, I need to learn to keep my hands to myself. I'm not always good about that. But there are situations that are abusive in that as a mom, I don't necessarily look at it.
Okay, then let me stop you here.
Okay.
Then as a strategy,
Mm-hmm.
are you suggesting then that when the abuse gets enough,
Mm-hmm.
that as a strategy, you must discontinue the relationship?
No, I'm saying that you could remove, I think it's okay to remove yourself, to reset. I don't think that you need to stay in it and sit with it. When you say you're unsafe, when you're feeling unsafe,
Mm-hmm.
I think in those moments that we're allowed to give ourselves moments to say, listen, I'm not feeling safe right now. I will come back to this, right?
Of course.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that how I'm perceiving it. I don't think, especially as a woman dealing with a male child, that if there's ever given an opportunity to where we feel that word unsafe, that we don't have the right to say, this is unsafe for me,
Mhm.
and that I need to. Now, whether someone continues to go back into the relationship, I always say do what you can live with, because I'm not someone to say. I just know that I've never experienced that with him, but in the event that I did, I think my response just would be different. Not that it's right, not that I would have the right response, but right or wrong, I just know that if I ever felt safe, I'm gonna give you an example. His brother, John, is the overachiever. He's the one that kind of got lost in the shuffle, if you will, just because he required so much attention. Or I gave him so much attention. And John came unglued on me one night. I was at the casino hitting buttons, and this boy called me and I didn't even know we had a problem. I thought John and I were great. And that boy came unglued on me in a way that was like going back into the childhood, and Nehemiah got all the attention, and he's always been the problem. And I remember in the moment, and he wasn't cussing me out, but I didn't feel safe. And I was able to say, I don't feel emotionally safe right now. Can we come back to this?
Mhm.
And I just want to make sure that anytime you feel like you're being abused, you have the right to remove yourself from the circumstance to get to a safe place.
Yeah, of
That's all I'm
course,
saying.
of course. Now,
Okay.
this isn't saying this, just understand. I'm trying to let people know when you discontinue your growth, okay? And as a child, let's say Trayvon was 5. At what point at what point do you get to discontinue
I don't,
your strategic moves with a 5-year-old?
you don't.
You don't. I kind of think of that with a 40-year-old.
Okay.
At what point would you get to not be responsible for their behavior? Okay.
Mhm.
Now, there is domination, and I've seen it, and I've been with clients that are dominating and overwhelming. And I have discontinued relationships for my own safety. Okay. That I just kind of let go, you know? Very rare. But again, that means that I'm not going to grow there. That means that I'm not committed to that one. Okay, fine. Now, with our children, it's tough to not stay committed. It's tough to not commit. You know, we can say we're done all we want, but you've said you're done a million times and you've never been done. And no one ever believes you. So you are committed and there's nothing you can do about it. So you might as well do what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So you might as well go, well, shit, I'm never going to get to be done like a woman gets to be done with a husband or a divorce. He's always going to be there. And now what I can do is I can actually go, he's like tone deaf. He doesn't hear what I'm saying. He's not making the changes he needs to make. This ain't working. I'm hitting my head against the hammer. And it's time to stop. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommit back to the relationship. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to recommit back to my own growth. And at the very least, he may never change, but I'll grow. And through that growth, what will happen is there'll be a de-escalation as a whole, because I will always remain calm and hold myself responsible for being with my pain, and I won't be firing back and causing more pain. That's the point, you see. And so, and then if there's a chance that I can put this back on the rails skillfully, that's the way it would work. And there is absolutely no other way it would work. The other alternative is I'm done with you. Then what? Then you hope that somebody comes along in his life that does what you want to do and help him. That might happen, but it'll happen through his major consequences going forward. So now we're hoping on consequences. Anyways, okay, more questions, comments, or we gonna? Mandy, you okay?
I do have a question.
Okay, good. I saw that.
So I'm wondering about what this looks like. If the person you're trying to have relationship with, if it's difficult to, if you,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just wondering if they're not willing, then what do you do?
Well, I think, let me give you an example. Angie and I were starting our relationship, and I decided one time to get really upset, and we were having our first argument, and I yelled at Angie on the phone. Now we weren't a couple; we were co-workers, business partners, and I decided to yell, and she did that thing where she don't answer my calls anymore. You know, and I'm calling over and over and over because when I'm in pain, and especially back then, I wasn't practiced, I wasn't polished, but I was polished enough to calm down and know how I know that there's something in the space. We need to talk. I'm committed to the space, then what's your next question? How do I get them to speak about what's in the space? And what is my approach? And, you know, the way I did with Ange was I just like texted her and I said that. I said, I need to tell you why I felt really unsafe with what you said and why I'm really insecure. And I go, by the way, I'm not crazy anymore. So just call me back. And she did. And I mean, and that's just the next right thing is why aren't they willing to participate? Well, they're probably tired of the same circle, you know? I talk about relationships like I talk about the way people drive over the pass. I don't know if you ever drive over the pass, but because trucks go over the pass, there's some deep grooves in the road. And if you ever drive it and you get your car out of those grooves, literally you can let go of the steering wheel and your car will be sucked back into those grooves. And that's what our relationships are like in families. They're like in these deep-seated grooves that we don't know how to get out of because neither one of us is willing to approach the conversation differently. And because we're not committed to our own growth, but rather the conversation is about how the other person needs to change. I mean, just think how willing you like conversations about how you need to change. I mean, those are real fun ones, you know. Let's have another conversation about how you need to change, but this time I'm going to package it in a different way. But when they open up the package, it's that same turd. You know what I mean? It's like that, you know, and you can't do that. Conversations about understanding, making them right. So, you know, if people aren't willing to be in a relation with me and speak about the space, well, then I usually kidnap them with 4 guys and then duct tape them and make them sit in front of me. But you could do whatever you want. I got guys that'll do that. Now we're gonna.
There's a couple things I wanna make sure.
Okay.
I don't wanna put you out.
Anyways,
You're gonna wrap up.
I'll wrap up.
Yeah, there's 2 things that I wanna say. Number one, I think that this topic here, this question, I think there's an extension that will come from it at another day, because I think that, and I'll continue processing it, but I think the word unsafe was perceived as literal, unsafe,
Mhm.
physical harm. So I think that's where this got
No,
misinterpreted.
that's an absolute
Yeah.
no. When I mean unsafe, we feel unsafe when someone says, Mom, you're too controlling.
Yes.
I'm talking about insecurities being unsafe. I'm talking about fake snakes.
Yes.
I'm talking about the fact that if you see a snake,
You
yeah.
took this from your viewpoint where you're looking from, you took that word and how you.
Listen, if somebody says to me, I'm a horrible,
Thank you.
if somebody says, Art, you're all about money
Mhm.
and you don't care about people,
Mhm.
that used to like light me up inside. Oh, you don't know like that. Okay. That meant that I felt unsafe in that instance.
Got it.
It's that tedious. Okay. I'm telling you, every time that in the history of you, every single time you've been upset, you've felt unsafe.
Mhm.
100% of the time. That every time that we feel upset. See, if we always felt safe and we always felt secure, we wouldn't get upset. You know? It's like we had $1 million. You just want you're driving, you're broke, you're on your last money, you just put all the gas in the gas tank of your paycheck and someone comes and they rear end you. You will get out of your car and yell at that you dumb son of a bitch, how'd you hit me? You're so stupid. You will be upset because that's going to make you feel real unsafe. Now, you just won $1 million and you got it in your pocket. You got it next to you on the seat in the car and you're driving. That same guy rear ends you. You're going to get out of the car and say, "Are you okay, sir?" With a big smile on your face. You see, so our upsets all come from the fact that we feel that it's like fake snakes. This world is like filled with fake snakes, and a fake snake will have the same reaction in your body as a real snake.
But if you're being verbally abused, you absolutely have the right to.
I'm not talking about violence.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm not talking about violence.
Violence, but even.
I'm talking about words.
I'm
I'm talking about words. I'm talking about words.
Yeah, so.
I'm talking about somebody saying to you, "Hey, you're a horrible mom."
Yeah,
And then
I got
we
called
feel-
a bitch.
Okay, well that's not it. That's not violent. That's not anything. That's okay.
It's not okay.
Well, but it's okay, but
You're right, yeah, okay, I,
it's okay and that it's not okay, but it's something that if you're insecure about, well, then you got some growth. Like, I mean, really, like,
insecure about being called that word. It was more bothersome because I have taken a total different approach with Trayvon in the last 5 years of how I even deal with him or how I am. And I know you say, who am I to say I've grown? He has known I've grown because he
Yeah.
has told me, so like, Mom, you're a totally different person now, but. The conversation went from. Seeing my kid to, well, she doesn't want, I was just saying what was to him blowing up. And I get the brutal beating, but it bothers me because I have. Even though you've done these things, I am still your first cheerleader, right? Like, I'm still the one that would wanna support you and be there for you, but you can't humble yourself. Because you're angry really with your situation. But I'm your mom, you could respectfully.
but again, okay, what do you want?
I just want him to, if you're angry, and
Okay,
and it's not I'm not the one you're angry with. I didn't,
okay, but stop.
why are you
Okay,
yelling at me?
okay, but stop. See, the thing is that you're being treated a certain way.
Right,
What do you want?
I just
You want
want,
better treatment.
yeah,
Okay, how are you gonna get better treatment?
I don't even know because.
Okay,
I
let's
tried
leave it right
everything.
there. Let's leave it right there.
It's just.
Now, there's a suggestion here. And that's the problem. That's the predicament that we run into. That you believe, or we believe, that we could tell people how they need to change, and that's going to happen. As if anyone on this planet has ever told you how to change and you did it. Like, ever. Like, you went, someone goes, this is the way you should behave, and you go, you're right. Like, never. It don't happen like that. We don't change our behavior because somebody tells us to. You should respect me. Yeah, he should. He's disrespectful. Now, what would be the way to gain his respect?
Leave him the hell alone.
Maybe not. Maybe it comes through this idea that he can't piss you off or gaslight you anymore and he can't push you away. Maybe it would come through next time you go, Trayvon, stop. And maybe we don't get righteous about it. And maybe, I'll give you an example. Your son, where maybe I gained some of his respect. Your son lied to me. Your son was out smoking weed, drinking. I confronted him. He said, no, he's not. After he said he wasn't, I said, well, Trayvon, I have proof. Now, he was hitting my shit and there was some emotional dysregulation. There was time where I wanted to jump on because he was being very disrespectful to me. Then he started telling me, oh, everyone's getting high in my program and how I don't care about him and this and that. And I had to sit through that pain to get to the other side. And I did. And I got to the other side and I said, very calmly, I just went, Trey, come on, man. I never lied to you. You lied to me. And with that, he broke. And he said, you're right, Art. And that was it. Now imagine if I would have said, hey, Trayvon, who the fuck you think you're talking to, motherfucker? Now imagine that. I've now disqualified myself forever from helping your son. Forever. Now,
De-escalated.
okay.
He did what he did. I said, Trayvon's not gonna sit
Now,
there and listen to this.
I got it. Now, just remember, let me close with this. It's very simple. I'm suggesting this will work. Now, this comes from years of experience and you don't have to listen to me. I'm
I
suggesting,
listen to you.
okay, I know, I'm not against you. I'm just suggesting that when we decide that we will commit to our own growth, we now become capable of helping people that we're in a relationship with. That when we decide and we make that commitment and we say that this fire is here for me, thank you, God, thank you. I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to actually move forward. And by committing to this, what I'm committing to is dealing with my own insecurities and no longer blaming anyone for how I feel. And when I feel upset, that's because there's a level of insecurity that's being caused in me, not by violence, not by anything like that, but just simply what you're saying really scares me, just does. You know, so like if somebody would tell me that my program sucks, it's not that they're saying my program sucks. I could care less that they're saying that. It's that I think they're going to go tell the world that my program sucks. So that makes me feel real unsafe, and I want to neutralize them, and I want to choke them and go, don't tell anyone my program sucks. And you start learning, and you get confident that your program doesn't suck, and you deal with your insecurities, and then a kid says it, and you go, oh, come on, kiddo. It's like that. And we learn this, and we commit to this growth, and we move forward. We say, all you kids in the program, anybody not in the program, anyone, what relationship is difficult in your life right now? And if you decide you don't want to change the person, but rather you want to leave that person there for the time being in the way that they are, and learn to accept them by actually learning how to grow through your insecurities and being with your emotions, calling that emotional regulation. By now I'm able to be with my anger and not blame you. I'm able to be with my frustration and not blame you. And I'm learning to be here. And as long as I learn to be here, I'm going to get better, causing more respect from you, causing more stuff that actually works out in the long run for us. And that's what we're here for. And this is what it's been about all the way along. That it's been about your growth, never about other people. And God gave you this. God said, here's your opportunity to grow. You see, remember that I had the dentists here and their lives are perfect? I don't know if you guys were here, but I had these dentists here and I said, you know what I pray for? I said, I pray for the appropriate amount of problems for you. I said, I pray for the appropriate amount of adversity. And I want to clarify, I said appropriate because I don't want death. I don't want a lot, but I want enough adversity and I want enough problems that it opens up the door for your family to start having deeper, not be in a business-like environment of a family and actually getting deep and trying to understand each other when it's not easy. And so I said, I pray for an appropriate amount of adversity for you and your family. Because I think it's a tragedy for people just to go on with life with no adversity. I think it's very mediocre. And I know a lot of families that make it with no adversity. And I don't know anything more mediocre than that. And they do the business of family, but they don't do family. They just do the business of looking good. And they all just kind of get together and look good. And everybody thinks from the outside it's all great. But there's a lot of shit underneath that they never deal with or have to. See, we're all in this room because we're forced to. Thank God. So thank you for coming tonight.
Tomorrow night group coaching, you guys, there's still spots available.
Thank you.
For option coaching, come your way up. Option coaching. Good night, good night. 14 tomorrow.